Why not a baseball video? Weirdest batting stance in baseball history by Baseball Doesn't Exist.
You ever wonder why nobody bats like this anymore? How come nobody goes to the plate with their hands a foot apart looking like they're going to bunt, but then not bunt every single time? Why are players who used to bat like this their whole career now batting like this? Across baseball, weird batting stances like these are going extinct. But which player had the weirdest batting stance of all time, and why are these stances going away? Or is the better question, why did anybody ever hit like this in the first place? Well, believe it or not, some of
this look crazy. I mean, I'm guessing the science has been found out, right? People used to try a bunch of stuff, but by now we know the best way to have the most power and the most success, I guess, with math and science, I assume.
The dumbest looking batting stances actually have the dumbest explanations. Like John Wackelfuss, who would stand in the very back of the box, keep his feet 3 inches apart, face his entire back towards the pitcher, then swing. According to him, he did this because he tried it once in Puerto Rico, got a hit, and just kept doing it. He went on...
I mean, I can't believe that some people have like different build, right? And something might work for you better than like the classic way of doing it, yeah. It do be like that sometime, I guess.
To play 11 MLB seasons batting like this. A batting stance is essentially how a batter stands in the box. Each one is different. Each batter has their own philosophy. Most aren't noteworthy. Some are insane. This kid gets into a crouch, leaps, clicks his heels, twirls his bat with one hand. After fouling off a hittable pitch, he needs a new approach. He twirls the bat on both sides of his body, then does a two-handed twirl even faster, does a bat toss to himself, then takes a...
He thinks he's the main character.
Strike. With 2 strikes, things aren't going well. He needs another approach. This time, he drops down again, but then turns it into a dance, followed by more drop downs, then salutes the pitcher in acknowledgement that he's up 2 strikes. He fouls off a tough pitch and is now feeling himself. He goes back to the twirl, salutes the pitcher, and fouls off another one. Keeps
I think he has more of a carry in dancing than batting, maybe?
jumping up and down, gets back in the box, fouls another one, then finally grounds out. Nothing in baseball forbids you from doing this. However, in this case, the tournament director warned the team, said it was dangerous, and said, quote, "We cannot accept this," then banned the stance. But for the most part, as long as both feet are in the box, you can pretty much have any stance you want. Throughout baseball history, batting stances were way less...
Has anyone managed to do the split and then bat?
important than you probably realize. For decades, the popular notion was a batting stance was just a starting point. When a player starts their swing, that's when mechanics take over. Swing mechanics are the important part. Players study, practice, and obsess over mechanics, but what you did before usually was up to personal preference to help your timing and feel. Just compare Big Papi's normal-looking stance to Kevin Youkilis, maybe the strangest stance of his era. He would bring his knees together, put his bat over his head, point it towards the pitcher, and even separate his hand about a foot apart on the bat. Youkilis became one of the best hitters in the league doing this. But as weird as this stance was, when compared to Ortiz, the swing itself is almost identical. Many weird stances are just mind tricks that batters use on themselves to get ready to hit. This guy would stretch his front foot almost out of the batter's box and stretch his back as far back as possible.
That looks so fucking funny. Savannah Bananas did split. Okay. I mean, it's kind of like you have a massive great sword and you're trying to like hold it like this and it's so heavy, so like you're being pulled from behind. It looks so goofy.
According to him, he did this after talking to a sports psychologist who emphasized the importance of a repeatable routine. This somehow became his routine, and he did it every single pitch. The stance looks insane, but the swing itself is actually pretty standard. For many, a stance is less about the actual string and just a pre-pitch routine, and some of these are stranger than others. Aaron Rowan's was belligerent. Waving his bat below the belt in the groin area, Rowan's pre-pitch routine was called the drunk. He would do it every single time he came to the plate. Fans would mock him as he did it, but this bat wave locked him in, so no coach or player would ever consider telling him to stop doing this. Jeff Beck...
I mean, at least it's entertaining, you know? It's like, think of the bat as your dick, and the ball has, I don't know, where you're trying to put it in. And, maybe the power of Arnie will get you for a while. I mean, it's all about tricking your brain. Yeah.
Bagwell wasn't as lucky. The Hall of Famer was actually traded because his team thought his batting stance was so bad. And it might have been the worst mistake ever made. In fact, ESPN called this the worst trade of all time. Bagwell became famous for his low crouch stance, which looked very uncomfortable. Bagwell himself warned everybody not to hit like this, saying it was extremely stupid. The Red Sox also thought it was extremely stupid. They were convinced his stance would never allow him to hit for power at Fenway and predicted he'd have a short career because of his stance. But Bagwell went off in the minors and became a top prospect. Convinced this wouldn't last, the Red Sox used his success as an opportunity to trade him for someone better. So in 1990, they traded him for a 37-year-old reliever, Larry Anderson. He pitched well, but only stayed with the Red Sox for half a season. Jeff Bagwell went to the Astros. They also hated his stance. Multiple coaches were vocal in making him change it. But again, Bagwell started hitting well right away. A few other coaches defended the stance and wanted him to keep it. He ended up winning Rookie of the Year, and those coaches won the argument.
I mean, I don't really know what to say. It's like, I understand that there's like classic ideas of what stance you need to have. But if someone is doing a super weird stance and yet they're still doing great, why would you tell them to change it, right? Clearly, it's working for them. So, the proof is in the action, right? It shouldn't be that hard. Like, don't tell him to change it if it's working. At the same time, you could say that, like, he's doing it in a way that is more likely going to get hurt. So maybe that's why you would tell him to change it. I don't know. It's interesting.
Bagwell's stance would go on to get even weirder as he went on to be a 4-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, hit close to 450 home runs, and is now in the Hall of Fame, all while using the same stance that convinced the Red Sox to trade a Hall of Famer for a half a season of Larry Anderson. Bagwell was too good to ever change his stance, but this player was so terrible, he had to change his stance, and according to him, he only did it because a famous country singer made him do it. At first, he batted like this, very normal. He was a league average hitter for a while, but got traded. Had the worst season of his life, was the 4th least productive hitter in baseball, and followed it up by going an insane 0 for 44 to start spring training the next season. All of a sudden, his career was in serious jeopardy. Then, according to him, he smacked a ball into the outfield to end this terrible streak. He put his head down, ran to first, felt a massive weight off his shoulders, then looked up and realized superstar country singer Garth Brooks just made a diving catch in the outfield to rob him of a hit. Yes, Garth Brooks was playing for the Mets that day. In fact, it was his 3rd spring training. As a massive baseball fan, he convinced these teams to let him play in actual games, take actual at-bats, and be treated like a real player.
What a random story. A country singer playing in baseball high level
while raising money for charity. Garth Brooks went 1 for 22 in his MLB career, meaning at this time he was a more productive hitter than Craig Counsell was. And the day after he robbed Counsell of this hit, the Dodgers dropped Counsell from the team. Desperate for his career not to be over, he started messing around with his stance. He got picked up by Arizona and started batting like this. The next season, he started standing up even straighter and helped the D-bags win a World Series. The next season, his stance got even stranger. Then in 2004, he went to the Brewers.
Looking at this, like, I've got no idea of the mechanics of baseball and batting, right? But in my head, I think of like, you need to use your body weight to give more power, right? So if you're like twisting your body and holding the bat like this, and then you like use all your strength to like push yourself, there's a lot more like momentum to it. So even though it looks stupid, I feel like there might be a lot more power than the normal way they do it, where it seems like the power comes from like the leg, I guess, a lot more. But again, I have no idea.
went
I'm
even
just saying.
further with the stance and had one of the strangest stances of all time. Craig Counsell resurrected his career batting like this and went on to play 16 seasons, all because of Garth Brooks. But you will never see someone bat like this today. The only public explanation Counsell's ever given on why he hit like this was that he tried it, it felt good, he played better, so he just kept doing it. However, in past eras, batting stances had a lot more strategy behind them. Ty Cobb would literally keep his hands multiple inches apart on the bat. As the pitch was being delivered, he would either slide his bottom hand up to choke up and do a contact swing, or slide his top hand down to do a power swing, solely depending on how he wanted to hit that specific pitch, and would make that decision as the pitcher was throwing the ball. And at least one player in Japan is still doing this. He spreads his hands apart about a foot, sometimes only holds the bat with one hand, then quickly moves his hands together and slap hits pitches. Apparently this strategy was normal in Ty Cobb's day. Players back then almost exclusively hit for contact, but as time went on, Babe Ruth changed that. While everyone was choking up hitting singles, he stood tall with his feet right next to each other in a closed stance and swung as hard as he could, struck out a ton, and hit a ton of bombs. Then suddenly, everyone in baseball was trying to hit home runs. So you got stances like Mel Ott, who had an insane leg kick and...
Okay, so I was gonna say like what's better, but from what I'm hearing, the old way was like more flexible, but it was less made for power and home run, right? So, while then everybody today wants to be the home run guy, which makes sense obviously. So everybody is trying to do like a more power stance.
Load so he could swing as hard as possible. This insane slow pitch softball looking swing allowed him to hit 511 home runs while only being 5'9", 170 pounds. Years later, Tony Bautista had the same strategy. Instead, he would face his entire torso at the pitcher, reach his hands back as far as possible.
Here we go, that's what I was talking about. So, like, he's clearly got a big dumpy. It doesn't really matter, but like this really like gives some torque power to your body. Like you keep your legs straight, and so you use your hips and your upper body weight to transfer momentum to your arm and to your hand. I mean, this makes sense to me. Yeah.
Possible before the pitch and swing as hard as he could. According to him, he did this because he tried it in Venezuela one time, got a hit, and just kept doing it. Instead of loading his hands like Ott, he started his hands low. Both did this to create as much torque and power as possible. However, Bautista was 4 inches taller, weighed 55 pounds more, so was a little bit more intimidating. Proven in this clip, when a pitcher hits him, he runs towards him. The pitcher gets so scared, he runs away into the outfield, but Bautista was just going to first base. A few decades after Ott, the league had changed. Contact hitters were a lot more prevalent again. People speculate the introduction of turf led to this. The fake grass made ground balls go faster. All of a sudden, ground balls were a lot more effective. So players like Mike Fishland bent down as far as possible, put their hands near their ankles just to ensure that they'd make contact at all costs, even if they knew they would never hit for power doing this. During the 70s and 80s, you saw this stance everywhere, bending down as much as possible, making the strike zone as small as possible. According to MLB rules, the strike zone is created when the batter is in his stance and prepared to swing at a pitched ball, meaning if a
That's what I was talking about. So,
created when the batter is in his stance and prepared to swing at a pitched ball.
That's absolutely insane. I don't know if you can actually generate power doing this. You can't be very you can't be very stable doing this, you know.
Meaning, if a 6'7" batter crouched low enough, he could have the same strike zone as a 4-foot batter. This kid figured out that was a rule, then went to the plate using only one hand on the bat, got into a complete crouch, then took a ball. Except it was a strike because it's only legal if it's that batter's natural stance, meaning he has to bat like this every single time he comes to the plate. Since this kid didn't do this stance every time, even in his crouch, his strike zone stayed the same as if he was standing straight up. But that didn't stop Yasiel Puig from trying it in an actual MLB game. After this clip went viral on social media of a kid in the Little League World Series trying this, Yasiel Puig did it in a real game. He didn't fully commit, and since it's not his normal stance, the strike zone did not change, and he took strike one. But if Puig did this every single time, his strike zone would be minuscule, and a lot of players actually did this. Ricky Henderson says he had this stance just so he could make his strike zone as small as possible and get walked as much as possible so he could steal as many times as possible. It worked. He stole an...
I guess it makes sense, yeah, like, if you know that you're a shitty batter, right, might as well make this your stance, right? So you're way likely to get walked and, you know, you're still an asset to the team because you're often on base. I mean, sure, you're never gonna be able to bat right by being solo, but you're more likely to get walked, so yeah. That's a strategy.
MLB record 1,406 times, while still somehow hitting close to 300 home runs, all while batting in a stance designed just to make his strike zone small as possible. And believe it or not, this stance also inspired the greatest stance of all time, even though they look nothing like each other. Gary Sheffield waved his bat as fast as possible, creating one of the most unconventional and violent swings of all time. He hit over 500 home runs hitting like this. According to Sheffield, his swing was inspired by Ricky Henderson, even though his swing looks nothing like Henderson's. However, he liked the way he played with confidence and flair. Henderson bat flipped, celebrated, talked smacked, and always backed it up. Sheffield wanted to have his own style like Ricky and says he created this batting stance basically just to be different.
That seems kind of crazy though, because when you're swinging like this, you don't really know exactly when the ball is gonna come. And so if your bat, while you're swinging it, is actually like farther away, I feel like it will kind of throw off your timing and precision. It sounds kind of crazy.
He thought it looked cool, tried it in batting practice, says he hit 10 home runs in one round and never went back. When someone told Sheffield his batting stance seemed like a you to the MLB establishment, he responded by saying, quote, "I agree with that assessment." Sheffield definitely worked endlessly on his swing, trying to get his mechanics down to produce the power and consistency he needed to be a good hitter. However, the stance and bat wiggle itself was more about aesthetics, at least at first. And this was accepted back then. He played in the golden age of stances. Around this time, players like Tony Bautista, Kevin Youkilis, Jeff Bagwell all excelled with weird batting stances. One of the best players in the league, Cal Ripken, seemed to change his stance every single game. In 1989, he started the season batting like this. By the end of the year, he was doing this. In 91, he introduced a bounce. The next season, he changed it again to this. And the next year, he chose his third stance in 3 seasons. By 1995, he decided he needed to loosen up his hands. In 1996, he decided he needed to relax a little and ended up creating the notorious violin stance, where he would slide his bat on his shoulder back and forth as he waited for the pitch to come. He continued to change his stance all the way up to his final season. Ichiro is also a testament to this era. He came to America with a Japanese style of hitting that most people thought wouldn't be successful. The style he developed was called the pendulum swing. He would swing his leg across the plate for timing and balance. Bringing this stance to America was controversial. People worried he wouldn't be able to hit the higher velocity in MLB swinging like this, but even though nobody in MLB hit like this, his coaches allowed him to do it without changing his technique dramatically. If he came up today, that might not be the case. Just look at Shohei.
As I've said, if it works, you know.
Otani, who hit with a leg kick his entire career in Japan. He brought it to America, but didn't even make it out of his first spring training before he switched the leg kick to a more conservative toe tap. He instantly started hitting better, and he's kept it ever since. Connor Joe is another player who entered the league with a strange stance similar to Tony Bautista. This lasted about 8 games before he changed it completely to a more normal looking approach. Zach Neto had a massive leg kick in his rookie season. Now it's completely gone. To understand why these stances are gone, just look at a guy like Phil Flantier. He had an extremely exaggerated squat, yet still somehow hit 34 homers in 1993. According to him, he hit with this stance his entire life, but never realized it until he was in the major leagues, because he literally never saw a video of himself hitting until he was on national television. The opposite is true today. Hitters are taped and analyzed since Little League. Every small movement in a swing is hyper analyzed. In the old days, stances were all about timing and feel. If a player struggled, they changed their stance based on how they felt. If they started hitting better, then they just kept the new stance. Cal Ripken started struggling in 1996.
That's what I said at the beginning, yeah. I guess the science and the math of like the most optimal way to do something has been kind of figured out, right? Yeah, so most people will end up doing the same, right? Makes sense, makes sense.
He didn't have 100 different camera angles of his swing. He didn't have advanced metrics that told him which pitches he was struggling hitting, or bat tracking data that showed his swing had gotten longer than usual. He just noticed that he wasn't hitting off-speed pitches, hypothesized that if he was more relaxed, he would stay back longer, started holding his bat like a violin so he wouldn't be as jumpy. It worked, so he just kept doing it. He repeated that process at least a dozen times throughout his career and got a dozen different batting stances. That's also how Bautista, Counsell, Walkenfuss, and many others got their strange looking stance. But today, if a player struggles, they go to a high-tech hitting lab. They break down all the data, analyze the video, target a specific inefficiency in the swing, and corrects it. Many of these players come to the exact same conclusions, which is why you will see the exact same stance across the league.
It's really like I feel like it takes the fun out of it. I don't know. Again, I don't actually watch baseball, but it kind of sounds like it takes the fun out of it a little bit, you know? Everybody doing the same thing because now we know this is the absolute ultimate way to do it. It kind of sounds like it's take the fun out of it a little, yeah. I don't know.
Close to the plate, slightly open with their hands held high. This is being taught as the optimal stance, and with fastballs going faster and faster each year, players feel they need as little extra movement as possible so they're not late on all the high velocity pitches. As a prospect, Bryce Harper moved his front leg like this. It worked amazingly, but when he started facing 95+ mile-per-hour fastballs consistently, he simplified it to this. Players across MLB are making adjustments just like this one all the time. A lot of more traditional hitters will say this can ruin players, and the further a player goes from their natural stance, the more uncomfortable they will feel and the more they will struggle. But it's hard to tell a player who is struggling, on the brink of being demoted or cut, to do just whatever feels natural, especially if what feels natural stops working. Players used to have unique stances that became their signature style. It was how they expressed their individuality. There's more individuality and personal expression in baseball now than ever. However, that's now shown through flamboyant haircuts, flashy equipment, accessories, and signature bat flips. Batting stance.
Fair enough. Yeah, as you said, the same swing but not the same results. Yeah. I mean, you still will have some people that like same swing and same stance, but are much better, obviously. Fair enough.
On the other hand, not so much. But that's not to say strange stances don't exist. Bo Bichette still has an exaggerated leg kick. Luis Campiasano still bats like this, looking like Tony Bautista, and even the greatest / weirdest stance in history might be making a comeback.
Gary Sheffield's son, a highly touted prospect committed to Florida State, has nearly the exact same carbon copy stance that his father used decades before. But if Noah Sheffield does make it to the league, will coaches pressure him to bat like everybody else, like they've been doing the past decade, or will this stance garner in another era of strange stances that we saw in the 90s and early 2000s? Time will only tell.
It is really interesting, and as always, I can bring a story from the sport I actually watch, right? In the UFC, the meta has changed many times, and I guess in the UFC there's a lot more variety of style because, you've got people who all have different background of like basic martial arts, right? Like people who used to do like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, karate, and then eventually they start training like MMA to add all the other style, but they always have like one thing, like one main style that they were better at than others, right? And it's always interesting to see over the years, the evolution of style, like something that didn't used to be a big thing was leg kicks, but then it became a big thing, after like one or two guys was doing it and it was super effective. But then eventually, like some people started, developing like easy counter to leg kick, where you would make it that like if you try to leg kick someone, you're much easier to be taken down, or like you basically raise your leg to like make them hit on your shin and they might hurt themselves. And so it's kind of interesting, like the constantly evolving meta in sport, like every time you think there's a peak, there's always like a new evolving meta. And sometimes it's like almost going back, right? Like in MMA, it's been kind of the same. There's been time where like something from back in the day kind of come back as, people thought it was like the old meta, but no, actually it comes back and it's very popular, like the simple guillotine choke, which is like one of the most basic moves, is always kind of making a comeback, and it's kind of interesting. So yeah, that was interesting to watch. Some of them are pretty funny, I can't lie, but it is entertaining. The weird stance, yeah, very entertaining. I like that.